Welcome to the Lovecars On The Grid podcast, your global motorsport roundup with me, Tiff, Needell and Paul Woodman.
Welcome to Lovecars On The Grid, your global motorsport podcast. We look back at a dramatic weekend in Azerbaijan, Cadillac's day in Indianapolis, Denny drama in NASCAR, BTCC, CCCC from Silverstone, and BSB take a trip to Holland. But absolutely, without further ado, Azerbaijan.
Well, we got. Is that proper? Is it Azerbaijan?
I don't know. What is it?
I mean, just so looking forward to this weekend because I think that's the best. It's the best street circuit in the world.
It's bloody brilliant.
It's just, I mean, the bit through the little castle, it's a single farm. The precision, and that's what I love about motorsport. That's what I hate about track limits and all that curbing is that precision should be rewarded. And we saw how, a little bit of a millimetre or two not being precise and you're in the wall. And this is how it almost should be in motor racing, that precision. And with that long straight, you always think it's going to be overtaking and it's going to be wins. And it's just really promised so much. And,
yeah, it did.
But the build-up and the qualifying.
The tight bit that you said, Tiff, sorry to interrupt, the tight bit that you said, so the cars they're wide cars now. That's only 7 meters wide, that part there. So they literally just slot through, and they're going at some speed as well.
I know it's really, and it's picturesque, and it's great to look at. It's exciting to look at the cars and going from wall to wall. Is what makes what motorsport should be around. But the qualifying, the whole build-up was so good. It's going to be dramatic. At first after free practice 3, it looked like it was going to be a normal weekend pretty much because you had Lando quickest and then Max and then Oscar and then who was chasing? The Mercedes were looking good after FP3. Lewis was having a good day. He was 4th in FP3. He was quickest in FP2. So the Ferrari's going to be there. We're going to have this big battle up front. Mercedes were 5th and 6th. Antonelli ahead of George. Alex Albon was 7th. He'd led the Williams quicker than Sainz, throughout FP1, 2 and 3. So I was really looking forward to the race being brilliant and it was going to be that sort of starting grid as well. But of course, quali turned everything upside down in a flash, didn't it?
It was the craziest qualifying I've ever seen in my life. I think it was just over 2 hours in total with 6 red flags.
That's what someone told me. I'm watching fast forward a bit. I was with all motorsport. I tend to watch, especially things like NASCAR. I wait till about half an hour after the start and then start watching it live, knowing there's always going to be red flags and yellow flags, so I can catch up. So by the time I get to the end of the race, I sort of end on time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it all started with Alex Albon clipping the wall, there.
I wanted to get in. You are an impatient bugger, I have to say. Patience has never been one of your virtues, has it, really, over the years?
Why sit there watching, rubbish, when you could have mowed the lawn?
Yeah, let me tell you, Tiff, when he's driving a road car, it's like a competition. He's got to get from A to B as fast as he possibly can.
Well,
and if he can overtake safely, of course, but if he can overtake one car on the motorway, God forbid you're on a motorway with Tiff and the lanes are going slow, and you happen to be overtaken by half a car length by another car because then he thinks he should be in that lane because it's going a tiny bit faster. Very competitive, very impatient.
Dodge the lanes. It's a game. You have to play, otherwise you give up. So
Alex
yes,
Albon,
impatient. Yes, so he began the drama. Really, we thought, oh good, because I actually tweeted that after FP3 there were 4.5 Brits, if you include Alex Albon half tie, in the top 8. So we had half of the top 8. It was going to be a British weekend. And so we lost half of a Brit when Alex clipped the wall on his Williams. And literally been quicker than Sainz all weekend. They looked good. And then, of course, Q2, Ollie Behrman, who had been, 8th in FP3, amazingly. He slammed the wall. But then he just kissed with the rear, didn't break the rear suspension.
He got unlucky with the rear suspension, because he literally just tapped it. Whereas others were going into it harder. Sometimes you can go into it hard and get away with it, but he just tapped it and broke the rear suspension.
He was out. And then, of course, Lewis, I don't know, he ended up with the wrong tyres, didn't he? So I should have been on the mediums. And,
Lewis.
So
your tweet didn't age very well.
No, I know. the Brits fell apart in Q1 and Q2. So Lewis would end up 12th on the grid after all that promise of a Ferrari good weekend. And then go to Q3. And then, of course, Leclerc's in the wall. He starts 10th in the end. So another Ferrari disaster. I'm not sure what his excuse was, but it was just the pressure. It was all this, the very tight circuits, and you're trying to push. And all this tyre warming they have to do to get the tyres in the right zone. There's the wind, wasn't there? It was, I don't know how good the telemetry is, but Lance Stroll went off somewhere in one of the free practices. And so I don't know whether Lance Stroll's engineer was told to make him feel happy. Make Lance always be happy. Don't worry, Lance, that was a huge gust of wind that pushed you off the road. I mean, can they measure the wind up your bottom? I don't know how. They can't have wind meters around every corner. I don't know how they measure that you've just had a gust of wind up your bottom, can they? I don't know.
It's just another ridiculous driver excuse. That's all it is.
But the engineer offered him this. The engineer said to him, don't worry, it wasn't your fault, Lance. It was a gust of wind up your bottom.
Because the old man probably said, make him feel good every time.
But of course, then in Q3, Leclerc's in the wall, and then there's an orange thing in the wall, so a papaya thing in the wall. I can't believe it. Who was that buried? I thought, oh no, don't let it be Lando. It wasn't. It was Oscar. I'm being a bit biased here. Obviously, I'm a slight British favour of Lando and the McLarens. So there was Oscar buried in the wall. He would start 9th. I was thinking he should get a pit lane start. I kept on thinking, how come he can start 9th? But apparently, if you crash a car, as long as you rebuild it with the same parts, you don't get these grid things. I thought you have to, but unless it's a gearbox or an engine, I think then they have. No, in fact, gearbox, they've dropped the gearbox rule now, so you don't get a drop for a gearbox change. I think you just get dropped if you want to change your setups. They had to set up exactly. I don't know how they know that McLaren's setup of the rear wing angler was precisely the same when the car goes to the grid. I've no idea they checked that. So now I'm thinking, right, Lando's going to be on pole. I mean, he'd been quickest in one of the sessions. Well, he was quickest in FP3. So Lando's going to get masses of points and catch Oscar over the weekend. And then, of course, he never really got it going, did he? Because he went out this Q3 with Leclerc in the wall and then Oscar in the wall. It was all chopped up and it was sprinkled with rain. And the previous run they'd been out, and because they'd been caught by the yellows, they hadn't got a lap time in, whereas Sainz had, and Sainz was right up the top. And they decided to go out first. And Lando says the team and him. But I was thinking, no, because if there's been any drizzle, any small amounts of rain, the track's not going to be quickest. But they were more worried there'd be another yellow flag from someone else and they wouldn't get a lap in. And so instead they qualified, 7th. So they made more mistakes at the McLaren pit with they gambled on sending Lando out first, which didn't work. Max, of course, leaves it till the end because he's Max and just blitzes the grid to take pole position. But there's still Sainz 2nd, Liam Lawson 3rd. I mean, it was the most amazing turnover of positions. Antonelli out-qualified Russell for probably the first time this year.
I think, second, or was it first?
Yuki 6th on the grid, not just in the top 10. So it was the most bizarre.
Yeah, a good race as well. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I thought this is going to be really, now the race is going to be even more exciting because Lando's going to be barging through the field. Oscar's going to be chasing Lando, and yet it didn't. And then it was the biggest anticlimax, really.
It really was, wasn't it? I thought the race was actually boring, but it was.
This is the annoyance of me about these stupid cars because Alexander Albon, when he was qualified just after crashing in Q1, and he was interviewed and said, "Well, you're looking forward to coming through the field. Obviously, the Williams is quick. You were 7th in FP3." And Alex straight away said, "Well, actually, when I was in free practice, if I caught cars, I just couldn't follow them, especially for the two quick left-handers onto the huge straight." So, and I'm still going back to these stupid 2022 regulations, which we're going to make the car, we're going to have ground effect, they'll follow more closely. Well, first we had the ridiculous porpoising for a year, didn't we? And then, yes, they can follow about half a car closer. Look, the regulations, everyone patted themselves on the back. Ross Brawn was saying, look, my regulations work, they're great, they can follow more closely. But they still can't follow close enough. So you've got a huge long straight. And also on the grid, I mean, Karoon was saying there's a headwind against them down the straight, which means the DRS will work even more effectively, because sometimes with a tailwind, then the DRS isn't so effective. So I was really expecting a great race. And then they couldn't overtake. And They do change those DRS lengths, don't they? Sometimes, if it was too easy the year before, they're just sailing past. They make the DRS shorter. I don't know what they did last weekend, but the simple fact was, you could only seem to get onto the straight 0.6 or 0.7 behind the car, which you were right up the gearbox on for most of the circuits. You're really excited. He's in his gearbox. Comes to the last two fast left-hand corners, and he's 0.6 behind, and nobody can overtake.
Nobody said this, but I assume it's a little bit like a Monaco, where it's so hard to overtake, you can slow the pack down during all that bit, and then save all your battery and energy for the straight, perhaps. So maybe
actually,
that's
the funny thing. I wanted to tweet Karoon because I was watching free practice one, I think it was, early on, and Behrman was top of the field with his doing white tyre, hardest tyre, doing lap after lap. I think his 7th lap was the one that was quickest on the leaderboard. And some of the top teams were coming out with the red super soft, sort of doing a qualifying test very early on in the weekend, but they weren't able to go as quick as Behrman. And then they said, of course, Karim was saying, of course, after doing one fast lap, they then got to do a slow lap to refill their batteries. So they can't do 2 quick laps in succession. But I'm thinking, hold on, Behrman is doing quicker laps than they're simulating quality lap for lap after lap after lap on the same set of tyres. So how can he possibly do that if he's using his battery?
It doesn't make sense.
No.
Yeah.
So it's very strange that, obviously on a normal racing lap, you harness in equal parts of the lap. But I suppose you're saying that on your ultimate red tire qualifying lap, you don't harness anything. You turn your harnessing off, so you just use the battery. So it seems strange that they never. I think once some driver actually went for 2 laps on the trot, desperate to get through out of Q1.
Lewis
was it Lewis?
Yeah.
So anyway,
and your thoughts on Kroon and Harry?
Yeah, good combination. Yeah, always good, very good. Like Harry, it's the future.
Yeah, no, I think they're exceptional.
I still like a bigger name. I mean, Kroon's great, but I still like a Button bringing a bit of it. I like an experience, a Villeneuve or a Button in there.
Well, I like Villeneuve because he says it how it is, but I think
Jenson Button does as well.
No, he doesn't. He's on the fence with all that Abu Dhabi 21 and stuff.
One
thing they did say, which they're both, I got big respect for both of them, but when they say disaster, so Oscar Piastri off the start had a disaster. Well, a disaster.
No.
One of my old mates said to me that a disaster was like an earthquake where hundreds of people died. Yeah, so it was a nightmare. They used that later on, which is much more appropriate, I think. Nightmare, but
I think that was with Oscar jumping the start and then crashing. That was their so-called.
So he had
disaster.
A nightmare, not a disaster.
Yeah, because that's what happened. Yeah, we saw the start. Oscar jumped the start, admitted it was his fault, so getting twitchy, and then hits the wall again.
Let me tell you on that, Tiff. So they held it a long time. For those who didn't see the start, they held it a very long time. You would think this would be random, automated. No, it's not. There's a person that does the start button, and they're looking at the cars on the grid, which I think.
I'm sure it's random.
It is not. No, it is not.
Is this one of your sources? Is this one of your inside sources?
Sky Sports did a nice one. It's a lady that does it, and she's looking at the grid. She's looking at the grid. She's not even looking away when she does it. I find that just the most unbelievable thing ever. So, I mean, not that she's going to cheat, far from it, but just surely you do it. I'm still
gonna reserve mine
because
she looks.
You could easily,
but she presses it, and then it's random.
No, it's when she releases her finger. It's the most bizarre
comments
thing
below.
ever.
Comments below. Comments.
It was on Sky Sports last year. They did a VT on it.
Why do we never do them? All the other YouTubers go, press love, subscribe, issue, like. We need to do more of that. That's why our viewers are so low.
I cannot believe that's true, but that is true. Sky Sports did a piece on it. Maybe they did it on April the 1st. They just wound me up.
Oscar mucked up. So now I'm happy because now Lando is going to storm.
You can't be happy for someone's failure. Well, you can.
Yeah, you can. Racing drivers, all this. I'm gutted for him breaking down in the last lap that gave me the win. Of course, you're not gutted. You're delighted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I said that.
I mean, I just want the championship exciting. Obviously, I do want Lando to win, but even more than that, I want it to be exciting, so it goes down to the last few races and keeps the drama going. But now we might have Max winning the world championship. The rate he's going.
Imagine.
But Lando, I mean, I watched his start on the replay because I thought, he hasn't made any spaces, and in fact. He got alongside Yuki out of turn one, but didn't really move bravely forward. And in fact, Hadjar then pounced him into turn two and put him back a place. And then he got back past Hadjar later on, but it didn't seem aggressive. The car didn't seem to be quick. And then he just sat there. So he ended up, we had the pit stop, and his one chance to jump, Yuki and Lawson was a pit stop that they mucked up. Again.
But why would you be aggressive? Why would you be aggressive when you've got?
I suppose you think you've got a whole race ahead of you, and you.
But and your man's out. I mean, okay, so he didn't know that then, but he was out on turn 5. Why would you be aggressive when all you want to do is maximise on your points and maybe get in the top 3 or 4?
Just found nobody to overtake. It was just. I mean, there was some overtaking when you get the tyres. You have to get that tyre difference so you can get the traction and stay closer. Max just cruised. We never saw Max, I don't think. There's a lot of closeness going on throughout the race, but not much actual overtaking.
This is a testament to Max, and he's certainly got a lot of the old ex-haters. I was never a hater, but I really disliked the way he was. Now I'm a big fan of his.
The way he raced.
But this is a testament, and the way he is off the race course as well, racetrack as well. But I'm thinking, well, he's whatever, 5 seconds, 6 seconds in front. He's going to be cruising. Penultimate lap, fastest lap, Max Verstappen. That's a testament to the lad. Yeah.
I think of Red Bull. We have to commiserate with Mr. Horner today. He only got 60 million. Check.
He never got 60 million. We can't even get 60 quid for a sponsorship of our podcast. He's got 60 million.
Yeah.
How much more has Red Bull got, for goodness sake?
So back to the race. So Oscar crashed.
Why didn't we do the drinks company instead of a podcast?
Make one up. Ferrari's fumbled their way to 8th and 9th. I didn't realise I wasn't concentrating towards the end of the race because I was bored. That Lewis failed to give 8th place back to Leclerc on the last lap or something. He said he lifted off and braked or something coming up the straight. So they were 8th and 9th Ferraris, after all that promised excitement, they went nowhere. Lando was 7th. The only people really were on the move were the Mercedes through changing tyres and doing the right strategy and the odd overtake, because George was a really good
How did George finish second?
I don't know.
From nowhere.
But he always does every race. And he's never on the telly. And all of a sudden, it's George on the podium. How did George get on the podium? He was 5th or 6th earlier on, wasn't he? So the good news, really, a lot of the drivers are about to get sacked because Kimi still hasn't been signed. I think we're pretty sure he's going to stay on, especially. So Kimi Antonelli needed a good race and got a good race. Liam Lawson needed a good race and got a good race in 5th. So it was great for him. And of course, Yuki, who needs a good race, and he got 6th. So
if it's Yuki's going to be gone. No one's going to have Yuki after this
season.
Will
he now? Will he? I don't know.
Of course he will, Tiff.
They've only got Arvin Lindblad lined up in the Red Bull sort of lineups at the moment. So if they use any of them, and Lindblad, I still think for his own sake he should stay in F2 for a year. He didn't have a good race. He finished about 8th, I think, in the F2. We'll go to the F2 in a minute. But yes, so George, and of course the biggest story really was Carlos Sainz, the 3rd in his Williams, especially with Ferrari's 8th and 9th. And he was genuinely delighted when he was absolutely over the moon. It was almost like Hulkenberg being on the podium. It was almost as good as that. But I mean, Williams should have had maybe 2 cars on the podium if Alex hadn't had that millimetre error turning into turn 1. It is incredible. It makes me, every time you see them go on board through that walled castle, S, left, right, you sort of breathe in and you think, how can they get so close on both sides? Because it's all peripheral vision, because you're looking through the corner. You know where you're aiming for. You're not sort of looking like at 5 miles an hour going through a traffic narrowing thing, thinking, my rims on the curbs. So incredible to watch. So, yeah, a disappointing Grand Prix in the end in
Very
terms of
disappointing Grand Prix.
drama.
What about Formula 2? There's lots of crash, bang, wallop in that as well.
Yeah, there are plenty of that. But it was great. I mean, in the end, it was a real one head-to-head race for Jack Crawford, the American, who's still putting his hand up to Cadillac, has been reserve driver, the best performing American at the moment. He held off Joshua Dirksen in a really good battle right to the line. Again, couldn't overtake that easily. But it was all the championship leaders had a bad weekend. Fornaroli, who was leading the championship, he punted the Irish boy Dunn off and got a 10-second penalty, but still managed to finish 7th. But the closest challenger before the race was, of course, Britain's lost his name, Luke Browning, of course, the Williams, who I think is better than Lindblad at this stage in his career. But, of course, Browning's a Williams guy and Lindblad's a Red Bull boy. But he got pushed out and crashed out himself. I'm not sure quite who caused that one. But Browning got no points. Fornaroli only got a 7th place. So Crawford now goes up to 2nd in the championship ahead of Browning. And who's ahead of who? They've got 2 rounds to go, haven't they? So Crawford is now 8 ahead of Luke and 19 behind Fornaroli. So it's a good championship, exciting. But they now have to wait until November the 30th and December the 7th.
That's crazy.
Because the Middle East want the last round of the F2 championship to publicise. But for these young kids that are trying to sort out next year's drive, you don't want to wait till December.
Yeah, exactly.
But most importantly, the Formula 2 champion can't race in F2 again. So that's the law. So if you don't know...
Forgot about that.
Yeah, you don't know if you're going to be champion until December the 5th. Then all of a sudden you can't do Formula 2 again and no Formula 1 team wants you.
That's crazy, isn't it?
So I was looking at that.
And it's still quite tight.
Well, yeah, it is. So any one of those could win. So I was actually looking at the seats available because you still say maybe there are 3 Red Bull seats available. So which of the 3 do you think is most favourable to be still in a seat next year? Well, obviously Hadjar. So maybe Hadjar goes to Red Bull.
Actually, Lawson, I think will be as well. Actually, because I would take Lawson over Yuki.
So it'd be Lawson and Lindblad in your racing bulls, do you think? And Yuki
so.
Gone. Right, okay, fair enough. So that means there's only 1 seat left, which is the Alpine seat. And this annoyed me again last. It's Flavio Briatore, who thinks he's God's gift to everything, especially driver management and fashion and everything else. He last week announced that they're not looking at anyone apart from Colapinto or Paul Aaron. Now, Colapinto, I don't think he's good enough, and I think he's always a journeyman with a lot of money and is a very good driver, but, he hasn't done enough to really stand out as someone Ferrari or McLaren would want to sign next week. The other one that did FP1 a few weeks ago is Paul Aaron. He's a Mercedes graduate. So obviously with the Mercedes engines going to Alpine next year, Mercedes are probably pushing for Aaron to be considered. And that's what Briatore says, either Colapinto or Aaron. So completely ignoring the whole Formula 2 feed, like the championship leading Italian. How about, Fornaroli that won F3 last year? How about Luke Browning? How about Lindblad? How about Dunn? How about, Crawford? No. He's decided it's only between those 2. And I was thinking also, being annoyed by the fact the Formula 2 champion can't go through. What about Théo Pourchaire? So Théo Pourchaire was the 2023 Formula 2 champion. So he couldn't do Formula 2 again in 24. He sort of wandered off into being a reserve driver, did a bit of IndyCar, and he's now forgotten. He's hopefully going to get a World Endurance Championship drive next year. So it's horribly frustrating. Jack Doohan not even mentioned, not given a second chance. I feel very sorry for him.
I forgot about him as well. That seems like so long ago.
So the Alpine drive is going to be either Colapinto or Aaron, according to the great Briatore, not Théo Pourchaire or a Formula 2
You don't fancy some of those orange glasses like Briatore? Blue lens?
So it's a very tricky world trying to get up this championship in Formula 2, and now you have to wait till December the 7th to find out who's going to be champion.
That's silly. That's too far away. But like you said, you're planning for next season. I guess it's all part of the game, isn't it? All part of what they have to do.
Anyway, it was entertaining Formula 2, but it's just a disappointing Grand Prix, wasn't it? Because I just like that.
It was really.
And if you think about next year's regulations, they're still talking about some engines running out of electric motor before the end of longer straights. And Azerbaijan is one in particular they're talking to. But also talking about some sort of push-to-pass power surge. But I don't know if it comes from the petrol engine, synthetic fuel engine, or it comes from the electric engine. So now you're going down the Azerbaijan long straights. You've both flattened your front wings and your rear wings. to make the cars quick in a straight line, less drag, less G-force, reverse G-force, using up your batteries. But now they're still saying, so you're now in the slipstream, and you're catching up. And all of a sudden, the car in front of you goes on to half its horsepower. And you're catching at 20 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour faster. And the bloody thing just slows up in front of you because it's run out of battery power. I mean, dangerous or what?
It's like missing a gear, isn't it?
Yeah, like being right beside some missed gears. So I don't know how they're going to do, the overstay. Say the bloke behind has also got his push to pass on, of however that's going to operate. So he's now doing like 20 miles an hour slower than you because you're going, because you run out of battery. Weird racing.
We're going to Indianapolis next. So where we go next? Indianapolis.
Yeah, America was the only other real international racing. They had the IMSA cars at the Indy Road Course, which is always a bad, dull race, whether it's Indy cars or sports cars. I don't know why. It leads to strategy, energy-saving racing. And Cadillac finished first and second, having qualified first, second, and third. 6-hour race.
Did BOP have anything to do with it? Or that?
Well, I don't know. Balance of performance. They're still involved. Yeah. But of course, IMSA have their own GTP regulations, they call it. It's not hypercar, whatever they call the world champ. Same cars. Yeah. So energy saver. We had a British.
Are they exactly the same? That's what I was just going to ask. Are they exactly the same, or is there like a Euro chassis spec? Or
well, no, they don't have the 4-wheel system, braking system. They're not hypercars. They all have the American shared energy battery storage gearboxes things.
Your knowledge is not bad, is it? Really?
Well, just about. So
do you read most of what you? What?
Yeah,
or do you
got to follow
read or watch?
Read it up, check it out. Regulations.
Good.
So Jack Aitken, British driver that did a Formula One race, didn't he? But he stopped George Russell winning a race at a Grand Prix debut, didn't he?
I remember that.
He crashed and he caused a yellow flag. He was driving a Williams.
I remember that.
Acura came fourth, BMW fifth. So Aston Martin, the Valkyrie's still not getting much balance of performance to help it. They finished 11th, still on the lead lap because they had lots of safety cars, American form of racing, so you could often catch up the pace and everybody else. So a fairly drawn out energy saving race for the sports cars that still look basically spectacular to me. NASCAR's begun their second round of 3 races to chop the field down from 12 to 8. And it was a great race at New Hampshire circuit. One with sometimes I say it's boring. This was really good. A track where they went 3 wide. Sometimes there was a 3 wide for like 3 laps, touching at 180 miles an hour. But in the end, it was a Ford team. Toyota dominated NASCAR in the last few races. But Ryan Blaney won his Penske Ford, which puts him automatically through to the final 8. But the talk of the weekend was this dispute with Denny Hamlin. So Denny Hamlin, we all know, dirty Denny, who's the lead driver of the Toyota team of Joe Gibbs Racing. And so Joe Gibbs Racing, his teammates are not Josh Berry, another one is one, I forget the name, but Christopher Bell, and also this young, really talented driver, Ty Gibbs. Now, Ty Gibbs just happens to be the grandson of the team owner, Joe Gibbs, who was a famous American football coach. They call him Coach all the time. So Hamlin and Christopher Bell are in the playoffs. So every race of these last 3 races, you've got to get as many points as possible. You're in the playoffs. If you want to get through to the last 8, you're going to need to score points. But they caught up Ty Gibbs, he was running well. He was leading last week and didn't win the race, but he's quick. He decided he was going to race his 2 teammates. Now, he's got nothing to prove apart from wanting to win a race. So eventually, after lots of touchy and pushy, Hamlin just spun him out. He said he didn't mean to. It was just I was racing and I went up one. He just got fed up. And he said on the radio something, does nobody speak to this kid or something? There's nobody talking to Gibbs. Because Gibbs should have been told, you're not in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got to let them by. But he's got this awful history of being an arrogant young kid because when he was in Gibbs Racing, the Xfinity Series, the Formula 2 level, which he won the title that year, I think. But they were going in, again, it was in the playoffs. And he'd already qualified for the next round of playoffs. And the car in front of him was his teammate who needed to win the race to qualify for the playoffs. And he was leading the race. But Ty Gibbs was so desperate to win the race, he put his teammate in the wall, So he didn't qualify for the playoffs and won the race. He got booed and heckled. So there's a real problem what's going on with Granddaddy Joe Gibbs in that thing. So lots of drama going on there. Otherwise, came back home, BTCC's as entertaining as ever around the stupid Silverstone short circuit with them still stupidly all running wide at Cops Corner, camera looking straight. I can't stand that when you see 2 cars in the racing line and 5 cars going out into the car park and back on again, and loads of infringements for corner cutting. But again, the championship's down really. It's 2 rounds to go. Tom Ingram, Tom got 42 points, including a win, whereas Ash Sutton only got 41 points. So it's so close between these two.
They are. There's nothing between them.
But Tom's now got the gap up to 33. And when you think last weekend they got 41 points and 42 each, it's going to have a bit of a disaster for Tom if he doesn't take the championship this year. Really, 1 to go.
See, you don't listen to a single word I say. What did I say about a disaster?
Did I say disaster? Well, it just comes out sometimes.
It's not a disaster, is it?
We need a better word.
Well, you're the one that told me.
Well, I got told it by a BBC producer when I said it when I was commentating live. But we were all right. It'll have to be a very bad day for Ingram if he doesn't take the championship.
Bad year.
Bad day. In fact, one of the most exciting news was from the weekend was Jason. JP's back.
Well, he's back with a team, not with him driving.
The devil as always. Yeah, there he is. He's slick back grey hair now, looking very elegant. Saying he's going to be running a team next year. So that should bring a lot of interest and a bit of fight back to touring cars. The touring cars, it needs something because at the moment we've just got, the Hyundais and the Fords, nobody else really, the BMWs, and it needs a bit of a...
You say that's a big story of the weekend, but was the big story of the weekend Sam Osborne winning his first ever race? First ever BTCC? No. Reverse grid.
Sorry, Joe. I'm sorry, Joe. I know it's a win. It is a win.
Sam.
I'm sorry, Sam. I mean, it drives me mad. There was one of the championships, I was looking up driver histories, someone had 4 wins in Formula 2. There's one website that doesn't include the reverse grid races.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, this driver had no wins at all.
Wow.
And we need that in stats.
I feel sorry for Sam Osborne because he's obviously a very talented lad, but he gets called the Lance Stroll of BTCC. That's awful. That's just awful.
But does his dad own the team? I don't know what his connection is.
I don't.
But there is a family connection that keeps him in that seat. But
so yes, okay, big story. I'll go with the Jason.
But he did do a fantastic race. I mean, he didn't make a single mistake. Sam Osborne. To be fair, I watched it,
and to hold off,
he had a Josh Cook right on his
exactly.
So he was under pressure.
Yeah.
And the British Superbikes went off to Assen in Holland, that great racetrack, which is a great racetrack for bikes.
Yeah.
That awful weather. The first race was stopped halfway through when the floods came out. But Scott Redding, who's having a really, really loving coming back to British Superbikes, where his talent as a rider is more important than the talent of his electronic devices on his World Superbike. And he won 2 of the races. A wet race went to a Kawasaki, which was great news. Christian Idden won. But Carl Ryde, again, was being more careful in the wet conditions. And he managed to increase his lead by 3 points over Bradley Ray. So very small increases in those 2 championships. But there's 2 rounds to go there. But Carl's now got a 34-point lead. And I think they scored 31 points the weekend. So again, Kyle's looking good.
He was behind.
As long as he doesn't have a very bad day at the next round. Get used to saying that now. Bad day.
Before you tell us all what is coming up next week, I've got the story of the weekend, definitely. Carlos and Charles Leclerc flying back to Nice airport in their private jet. The weather was so bad they had to land in deepest, darkest Italy somewhere. So they rented a van. They drove the van back. But that
Why
used to
did
be
they
the
rent a van? I saw that. I didn't read
because
the
they
story.
had crew and stuff in the back. So they had mates and crew. So, but that used to be the thing back in the day. Modena to Monaco for all the racing drivers. So back in the day, it used to be, I think it was 4 hours. Does that sound about right? And who could break 4 hours? Modena to Monaco. So the Ferrari drivers. That was what they used to do back in the day.
Well, I mean, back in the real day, Jim Clark and Graham Hill used to share a car to drive from England to Monaco and stay on the continent going to Spain and Grand Prix. So a bit more closeness is always a good thing. But of course, they're mates anyway.
Lots of them are mates now, aren't they? I mean, I didn't know Charles and Carlos were mates
Well, they're
like
teammates,
that.
weren't they? Teammates, So.
It was exactly, were teammates.
Yeah, true.
Right, what's coming up next week, Dad?
And not a lot. World Endurance Championship goes to Japan in Fuji for the final round, where James Collado hopes to add a world championship title to his already brilliant CV. He's in the leading Ferrari team points-wise, but only 5 points ahead of the yellow Ferrari, the private Ferrari with Robert Kubica. So Kubica looking for a world championship title as well this weekend. Both Ferrari have already run the manufacturers, so it's just between those two Ferraris. Which crew is going to be crowned world champion? The MotoGP boys are also in Japan at the Motegi circuit.
Oh, wow.
The World Superbikes will be boring everyone to death at Aragon, so I wouldn't even bother. I should say it'd be first. Razgatli will win 3 races. Bulag will be second in 3 races, and someone else will be third in the other 3 races. That'll be it. It's all spread out. Sorry, World Superbikes, you need to take some electronics off that. Take all your whatever you've got on them, make them more rider friendly. Whereas over in America, NASCAR goes to Kansas City, baby, and it's the second round of 3 to go through, which should be entertaining. It always is, as long as you record it and then
what would the
it.
lap time difference be? World Superbikes versus MotoGP.
Good question, and I've no idea. I don't know where you can go to someone.
Answers below, please.
We have to find out,
below,
bikers.
All that sort of stuff.
And tell us, what do you think, bikers? Do you think we should? I don't know. How can you force science? Science is ruining motorsport wherever you go. NASCAR's not as close because they're all still aero dependent and they can't follow around corners. And science, technology, too much of it. Stricter regulations.
Let us know in the comments below if you can answer those questions, please. And we'll
just the wing.
See you next
week.
Wing
on a Formula One car. The wing, just put the end plates on the inside of the tyre looking at it, not the outside. One simple thing takes some air away. They don't hit their wings so much at each other. That was always my starting point. Front wings, inside.
Next year might be completely different. New regulations.
Inside. No, we've already seen them. We've already seen them. Next is all.
Thanks for joining. See you next week. Bye.